Welcome back, everyone. Sethphir here. I hope you are enjoying your weekend. And today I wanted to talk about a topic that I get a lot of comments on, and that's people talking about, hey, are you going to do a leveling guide? Are you going to, give us some tips? And yes, I finally will do that today. I have quite a bit of experience in leveling. During the beta, I was the first player to level 60 on the Nerea server, and I got quite far ahead. So I learned a lot based on that, and also midway through the beta, they kind of switched up some of the patch notes on us. So I got to experience the latter part of that as well. So today we're going to be talking about my top 5 leveling tips, and these are going to be designed at helping you level faster, more efficiently, and to just kind of get a little bit of an edge when it comes to that sort of thing. So we will discuss all sorts of things in general, but for now we'll jump into the first tip, which is going to be the main story quest line. And that may seem obvious, but what you want to do with this is get from point A to point B, right? Do not stop along the way. Just really make sure that you're focusing on these things because the main storyline is very important for a few reasons. It progresses the main story, obviously, which allows you to get access to some dungeons and tuning orbs along the way that will be really useful for experience. You're going to have to do this anyways, as you need to really complete all these quest lines to kind of access the end game part of it. So that's really important. And when we talk about like these leveling things, it's very key to identify, are you power leveling or are you like leveling for efficiency? Because it's very easy to hit 60 and then be like, oh yeah, I'm 60, but now I have to do all the things that I skipped along the way because, I just straight focused on leveling. So a good combination of that will be key here, and making sure you deal with the main storyline accordingly is very important, in my opinion. So it has level caps. Like it'll basically say like, oh, you need to be level 35 to continue on, or 45, and that's a great indicator that you're on track. So use those as sort of markers. Be like, okay, now I need to go out and look at other options or look at some of the other things along the way when you do hit that level cap. So you'll want to focus on a few things. So that's going to be tip number 1. Tip number 2 is going to be town board. So the town board in the beta it refreshed every 5 minutes. However, they did nerf that, so it does now refresh every 30 minutes. The catch with this is a few things. One, you can have different town boards in each town. So if you have 2 towns that are close to each other, and by that logic, maybe you own a house in one town, or your inn is set for one town, you can get there really easy. You can also set a campsite outside of a town, and if you wanted to, respawn there. So there's some great travel options, but what you can do is you can collect town board missions from multiple towns and sort of bank them up. I will say that not all town board quests are created equal. That is not something that is in the game. It does tend to heavily favor certain types of things, just mathematically speaking. There are some quests that are worth it, and there are some that are not. The quests that are worth it tend to be those in like armor smithing, weapon smithing, arcana, even some of the cooking professions, because they require you to make a product that doesn't require that many raw materials, whereas some of the bad town board quests are like, hey, turn in 90 iron ingots. And if you've played New World, that hurts, right? Like that really hurts. You have to go out and get quite a lot of iron, and you don't necessarily want to dump all 90 of those iron ingots on one particular quest. So when you get like a weapon quest, like for weaponsmithing, you would essentially only spend like 12 ingots and maybe a little bit of wood and a little bit of leather or something. It's very, very affordable, and it's a nice way to kind of boost up your experience. The second part on that is that the quests actually scale with your profession level. So the higher your profession level is and the more quests you are turning in to the board, the better those quests are going to be. So, for example, it's going to start out and be like, hey, I want you to get me iron. But once you turn that in enough, it'll be like, okay, how about steel now? And that experience will go up. Then it will ask for oil, and then it will ask for star metal, and you can kind of get the point here. It's going to keep asking for higher materials, and every time it does, it gets up there in experience. Some of the star metal turn-ins and like weapon turn-ins in the late game were giving me roughly 8 to 10,000 XP, even more. So if you're working on a profession, that's going to really help you. And I would suggest to target town board missions in areas that you want to be in. So alchemy is an easy win because it just wants you to turn in like 1 or 2 potions, and you can get those from drops from monsters as well. So as you go on and get more experience, you'll be able to identify what is a good town board quest. Should I keep this one? Should I not keep this one? And there's other variant ones like hunting and collecting something in an area. We generally tend to ignore those because they're not like a banked material that we could just have in our inventory to just cash in real quick. So I'll go into like a full detail on that probably in another video because it is quite important. But for now, just keep that in mind that your profession will scale with that XP. There are some quests that you want to avoid. There are some quests that you want to do. And checking every 30 minutes and kind of getting on a habit of looking at these town board quests, grabbing them, turning them in, and then going out and doing other things is going to be a very big source of XP, and it's probably going to be the primary way to kind of level and go about things, depending on if they change the way some of this stuff works, right? We don't know how that'll exactly be on launch, but if it's like the beta, this is most likely what you'll see. Okay, tip number 3 is going to be dungeons. So dungeons may be a little obvious. The way it works is you have to get a tuning orb to enter the dungeon or expedition, and you will get access to a tuning orb sometimes from the main story quest. The main story quest will give you a tuning orb for Amarine Dungeon, which is the first dungeon available at level 23, and it will also give you a tuning orb for a 45 level dungeon called the Depths. I'm assuming that it will scale up and give you another tuning orb later. However, the storyline was locked at the level 45 depths part in the beta. I'm guessing they just didn't want us to explore everything, which makes sense. So that's probably as far as we've seen. I would assume that it would probably lead us to Lazarus Instrumentality eventually, so that's a free tuning orb to get there. The other way you can get tuning orbs is by creating them. So with stone cutting at a high level, you can take some corrupted fragments from the portals and other things like that to kind of craft them, right? So that's going to be a little bit of an expensive method, but it'll be the method that everyone has to do over time. And then the other method, the final method, would be quest lines within the area. So each place has a quest giver that will sort of lead you towards a dungeon in that area. For example, in Windsward, there's a guy who gives you a quest, and if you do a series of these chains, he will eventually give you a free Amarine tuning orb. Sometimes there's 1 to 2 in a region. Sometimes a region wants you to go to another region and earn that quest tuning orb for that region. But you'll have to play around with the specifics on that. I will try to get more data on that in the open beta as to like which quest guy specifically is going to unlock that, but generally that's what the side quests are for. It's to unlock special either special items or the ability to go into the dungeon within the area, so keep that in mind. Another thing that's going to be good, which is tip number 4, is going to be elite farming in zones. So there are several zones in the world that have elite hotspots. So it's just like a cave or a camp or something, and it's just tons of elites scattered throughout there. This is a great place to go with a group. Just like the dungeon farm, you're going to need a group, but this one, you'll basically go there with maybe like 2 or 3 buddies, maybe a little more if you wanted, and you would kill these elites, and they're going to be dropping you things like potions and weapons and all kinds of stuff. You're going to get upgrades, you're going to get repair parts, you're going to get gold, and it's really good to do. So it's a nice thing to supplement in line with the other things that you're doing, right? And that's going to be the key element to leveling, is doing the main story quest while keeping up with the town boards, while doing these other side ventures like elite farming and dungeon and the other things. So yeah, elite farming's really good. There are a couple of great spots. I'm going to go ahead and take a look over at the New World Map resource, and we will go ahead and point out some of these zones for you so that you can see exactly where they are and what level range they are. Okay, and here we are on the map. This is newworld-map.com. It is run by the guys at Studio Loot and New World Fans, so make sure you check them out. Great people, and they are definitely doing a lot for the community. So if we look here, we can see that on the map, I can see zones, right? Like zones of people, or categories of monsters. Like here's showing me Lost, level 22 to that. Okay, so you can enable this by just going to the filters in the areas, and then you can select these categories of monsters. So if I go over here, the first zone we're going to look at is a level 25 zone. So this is going to be in Monarch's Bluff, which is down here, and you see it's labeled Area for Group. So area for group just means that it's an elite area, right? So throughout this place, there's just tons of monsters you can kill. They drop potions very often. They drop materials. They drop weapons and everything like that. And you can get, this is a really good farm for weapon XP specifically, but also just XP in general. You can make quite a lot of level gains out here just by being with a really strong group of like 3 or something like that, maybe 4, and just really like grinding this out with like good players. I will say that as these spots get crowded, they get worse off. So you could imagine like 5 or 7 groups running around here, tagging everything, people training monsters on each other. So just be aware of that. That could be a thing. The next spot that we're going to look at is a level 30 spot. That's going to be up here in Brightwood, which is very small. I wouldn't super recommend this, but it's Angry Earth, so if you're a fire mage, you might be able to get away with killing some of these things at a higher rate, but there are also like a lot of Angry Earth monsters in the Brightwood area, so it's a very small spot. I would probably skip this, but if you're really desperate for elite farming around the 30 area, you could go for that. A really good spot is down here in Cutlass at level 40. There's a nice little cave and like pirate adventure area here, and you can go through and kill all these elite mobs. There's a lot of suicide bombers here that are elite, so they're gonna die really easy and sometimes help you kill the other mobs. They also give a lot of mass experience, so it's a good place to go for sure. There are several other level 40 zones. I believe there's one in Weaver's Fen. Yep, right here. So this is like an area that you could go and kill some elites at. And then as you get in the higher levels, probably towards like 50, you're probably going to be looking at this area right here, which is another Angry Earth area called Arandis, and that is in Restless Shore. And the final area would probably be Scorpius up here. This is a pretty popular one, level 50 monsters in Morningdale, so that's a fantastic like later game zone. And then there's some other ones in different regions that are higher level. You can go there and try your luck, but we'll just specifically talk about like leveling ones like while you're getting towards 60. I know in Great Cleave there is also a couple of areas that are intended for level 50, like right here at the top of Great Cleave. That's a group area. There's some quests there, so that's a decent area to grind elites as well. So you would use these elite grinds as a supplement for basically, you know, you don't have any tuning orbs left and you want to mix it up or change it up, you want to get some weapon XP, or you're basically just waiting on town board quests and you have nothing else to do. It's definitely a good idea to check those out. So we'll hop right back into the video again, and we'll go to our 5th tip here. Okay, our 5th and final tip is going to be corrupted portals or rifts, the little invasion points that pop up around the map. They may not be available the first day, as it sort of takes a little bit for the corrupted to kind of sink in and start doing things. So that is probably something you're going to want to look out for. The best part about this is that you will get materials that will help you in the end game. So again, it's that question of power leveling just to power level or leveling efficiently. Because ideally when you get to end game, you want to be in a position that allows you to start doing some of the legendary questline progressions, that allows you to start getting high gear score and hopping into some of these dungeons, and you need to get your your high watermark up, which is something we talked about in the loot video, before you start doing these big and major expeditions. And gathering your crafting stuff is going to be something that you're going to need. You're going to need the ability to make the tuning orbs in general, which is going to come exactly from these corrupted portals. So these corrupted portals will give you fragments that are used for tuning orbs. They will also give you a lot of XP. They will give you Azoth, which is very important for travel. So there's going to be a point in your leveling where you're going to be like, actually, I don't want to do a dungeon. I just want to do corrupted portals because I need Azoth to start traveling places. Like once you're at 0 Azoth, your leveling speed's going to slow down quite a lot, right? Because you can't get from point A to point B faster. You're going to have to walk there. So it would make sense to supplement in a little bit of corrupted portals so that you can get that Azoth boosted up. You're actually going to get faction tokens as well, which is nice, and a bit of gold and things like that. So the weapon drops from the crate do give good things. You can also get rewards from the crates that when you close the portal that give you access to trophies. There are several like corrupted materials that drop from it, or corrupted trophy materials. So those are very nice to be on the lookout for as well. If you ever see these portals up, it may be a good idea to gather a couple people in the area and just go ahead and tackle that and kind of get those knocked out of the way and get that free XP along the way, as well as the Azoth. So I hope that these tips have helped you. I know it's a bit of a long video, but I really wanted to explain a few of these things. But do keep in mind that, again, the big keynote to take from this is efficient leveling versus power leveling. Like, yes, getting to 60 is cool. Maybe if you're going for world first, that might be your thing. But if you're not going for world first, it really makes sense for you to put yourself in a position that when you do get to 60, you've done all the easy stuff that you could along the way, like getting some of those professions up a little bit, getting that storyline quest caught up a little bit, doing some of the faction advancement missions, which is also something you should probably keep up on, as it gives you some good gear, and especially at 60, it gives you a nice boost of gear. So just really making sure that you got these things locked down so that when you do hit 60, you don't have to just double back and just straight do everything that you skip through, because like at that point, what's the point in you even being level 60, right? Like you're just going to be sitting there mining for 8 hours. Like, so, just keep that in mind, like balance in all things. Get to 60 at a good pace, but you want to stay ahead, but you also want to be getting the important things so that you can enter the dungeons when you get to 60. You can actually gather some of the high-end materials when you're at 60 instead of just passing everything up and being like, well, that's unfortunate that I can't get that. And, that's definitely a bad spot to be in. All right. Thanks for your time, everybody. And if you did find this content helpful, please subscribe, like, hit the bell, all that good stuff, as it does go a long way. I am but a small and humble YouTube content creator. And thank you very much, and we will catch you in the next video.